Beautiful day, gold and silver up, miners up, everything else demolished, banks leading the way down, the Russell being the weakest, exactly what I hoped and predicted. That's beautiful. We'll get into the charts and the detail. Just one thing also, it's nice to see gold and silver go up and the miners go up as they've been doing, but it's also very nice to see everything else go down. Not because I'm some sort of person who seeks destruction or cherishes destruction, but eventually the plan is to sell miners or gold, silver, whatever, and then buy something else, right? The time to sell will come. We're far from it, but at some point, I feel like selling Agnico Eagle Mining and buying Paramount. And Paramount, I bring up Paramount because today that was something I wanted for a while. I used to have it, it just got out in the black, but today it was down 27%, and I just nibbled some. I said, yeah, great. And it's beautiful. And I think it'll go lower, and then I'll start to make a decent position out of it. But it's been destroyed. And who cares about Paramount? But it's just very nice to see my portfolio, the gold silver space, just rocket higher as everything else on my screen is just pure red. So I enjoyed that. Let's take a look at the S&P straight away. Look at this. We've got the support. I haven't touched any of these lines. We bounced off support off the low that we made here on the 26th of April. So purely at support here, market's looking weak. Obviously, we're going to look at some other charts, but you can see some banking stocks are also at a low. So we may have a 1 or 2 day little bounce, but they're getting butchered. And to be honest, regular scheduled programming has been interrupted by these banks. Something I said a few weeks ago, I said these banks, it's not over yet. They're going to go down. And I said just recently, I said the day's going to come when we have several banks crashing, maybe even going bankrupt, several banks, and we could have some mid-tier or bigger tier banks going bankrupt. And that's what started to happen today, or maybe yesterday we had 2 or 3 also regional small banks going down. But we're starting to see the contagion start to hit the senior banks, and that's obviously when the Fed's going to start to panic a bit more. Who knows what they come out with? For me, it's kind of like gold and silver is invincible. If banks go down and there's this financial crisis, which there is, gold goes up, gold and silver related assets go up. But to stop it, they need to do some sort of QE, backstop. Oh, now it's 250,000, make it 500,000, whatever. It's going to be some sort of pro QE stance, which is also pro gold. Maybe not immediately, but gold is kind of invincible. And I've been saying it since this massive run started. Anyway, S&P, we're at support. Remember this day a few days ago, hitting this resistance. I didn't believe we'd keep going. So I remain fundamentally bearish the markets, even when we're down here. I may be short-term technically bullish because we're at the absolute lows, but fundamentally bearish. And now technically, again, we may have 1 or 2 days, but tomorrow's Friday. We may have 1 day's sort of bounce where they don't want the weekly candle to close sub, 403, for example, on the S&P. But this banking crisis is starting to take its own course, and it could become a little panicky. So you could, despite the government's efforts maybe to prop this up a little bit, I think we could have a weak close for the week, even worse than today. So watch out. Support is obviously here. Resistance, forget resistance. We're not going to go that high up. It's all about the support, and I think we will actually close below it tomorrow. Nasdaq outperforming, which has been the trend for a while. But just look at this ascending. This is weak. This is a weak chart. The ascending pattern is always the weakest. If we start to hit this 310 zone, not only do we lose the horizontal, but more importantly, because by the time it gets there, whether it's tomorrow or next week, it's going to start to lose the ascending. And if you start to see a close below the ascending, like 308 or something, 307, in the 307s, that's it. We're going to go all the way back down here. Plus, we have the perfect catalyst. We have financial crisis. So for me, forget resistance. This is the weakest chart pattern. We've gone down. This is like consolidation, but for a move lower. This is complacency right here. Dow Jones, look at that, weaker than the S&P, right? They used to look very similar. They still do, but you can see the Dow Jones underperforming. It's already closed below the support that I identified. I think it's correct. Now we're going to go to the next level. Here we close sort of in a vacuum, sort of in between two two trend lines. So I think this is just a close because the market closed wherever it did. I don't think it's anything significant. I think we will go back down to 32,750-ish tomorrow. We'll probably touch it tomorrow, at least test it. So Dow Jones, underperforming the S&P underperforming the Nasdaq, the Russell, the weakest of them all. Yeah, it doesn't look so weak compared to the standard Russell, but look, let's be honest, we're starting to attack the second last line of defense, of support. Okay, we closed somewhat quite a bit higher from the low, but if the banks go down again tomorrow, we're going to have a test of this 167. But for me, the Russell is too much to handle. Once you have these big ETFs, the S&P and the Nasdaq, the Dow start to lose their support and go lower, this thing's going to tumble. But I still think it's the same trend. The banks, the KRE in particular, I keep saying the same thing. The KRE leading the way down, dragging the Russell. But I'm not sure how much low will go tomorrow. I think we'll test lows, like we'll go below today's low and start testing the other lows, like down here. But I don't think we're going to close too bearishly. And I say that because of the financials, which I'll get to in a second. But yeah, look, on the upside, you've still got this descending. On the downside, let's just say 167 for the Russell. XLF, look at that. Nice little sort of drop lower. Okay, it's got a bit of support here. But it's all about the KRE. Let's get to the KBE. Look at this. If I zoom out though, and actually this is a trend line I put in, was it on Tuesday or something? I thought it might be time to start putting this in. So I did. And actually it is time to pay attention to this support. And this is the support zone. You'd think 30 is, I don't know actually. Now, obviously we didn't go anywhere near there today. We will need another crash tomorrow to get there. I don't see that happening, but who knows? Resistance, you can forget this resistance. Resistance now is prior support. So it's going to be this 34.50 zone. So let's just make it a bit more visible. Could we test it tomorrow? We certainly could test it if there's a nice relief rally, but then we'll just go lower. It's not going to close above this prior support zone, that's for sure. KRE though, look at this, all about the KRE. I could just miss everything I just did now and just focus on the KRE, and that's all you need to know for tomorrow. Look, this trend line I'd already put in 1 or 2 days ago, 34. It basically tested 34, 34.60 or whatever, same thing. Okay, we did rally quite a bit off its lows, but minus 5% still is pretty meaningful stuff. I don't know how much. I think I saw minus 7 or 8% at some point. It may even have been more, but massive drop, massive drop. I remember talking about it up here. I thought, nah, it's toast. And, some of these regional banks you can see down here, Pacific West Bank, or there's like 10 of them that are sort of down double digits, but these two Western Alliance and Pacific Pac West, whatever, we will soon never have to remember their names because they'll just be in the dustbin of history. I reckon they're going to go down. I mean, tomorrow, they went down a lot today, but look at them actually. Look at this one here. It tested its prior low. So that kind of explains why it found support. Pacific West made new lows. And it's got no history. Yeah. So yeah, just to finish off on KRE, it's obviously been very, very, very weak. But look, we have a bit of support here. Let's see what happens. If these things start to go bankrupt, you can expect continuation of the selling. I don't know if we'll hit new lows. I don't know if the Fed's going to start to intervene, but it's bearish for the markets, and obviously that's one of the reasons. That's the main reason that gold and silver went up quite a lot today. Let's move on to interest rates. So the 1 year, which is usually quite strong, this bit of a drop, lost its ascending support. So maybe we start to move back down again. 2 years, very weak, I mean, especially the last couple of days. It's obviously just bonds being bought. So, but including the 1 year, that's probably the big takeaway from bonds today. The 5 year, look at this, starting to break down quite a bit. Like it's testing support. It's getting pretty critical that it holds this, because if we start to close, I mean, look, we actually ventured below this sort of support zone of 3.25 or something. Now we didn't close below the support zone, but this is totally irrelevant now. But yeah, if we start to close below, I don't know. That should be a signal for a big move lower, but that would represent bonds going up and there's being some sort of a crisis, which we do have. Here we're still holding ascending support. I'm not sure how credible this one is because we just touch it twice very closely here and then we never touch it again. So this may be a false level. You know what? I don't need it because I already have the horizontal one, which has been proven much more recently, several more times touching the line. So I'm going to trust that more. Plus, I know what the 5-year has going. It doesn't have any ascending, so it's going to be copying the same chart pattern. So yeah, let's see 10-year, pretty weak, right? Just at the bottom of the support zone. If they start to go lower again, if we have another drop in the banks and the markets go low and bonds get bought and yields start to go low, if we start to see closes below this support zone, below in the 5 and the 10, or I don't know if the 2 will get there, but we could have a massive move lower in yields across the board. Here, the 30-year, I'm just checking very quickly if this makes sense. No, it's okay. Yeah, this one's actually quite a bit stronger, so that's interesting. That's interesting. Anyway, otherwise, bonds generally down. If we look at the TLT, you can see not the craziest day, but I'm looking for a breakout here, 110-ish. I think that will happen if the banking story gets worse. So that's yields. Let's look at the dollar. Dollar did okay today, but look, it's still generally quite weak. You could have a move up because of fear. You'd expect the dollar to have already moved up a lot more. Also, traditionally, it catches a bid when there's fear, but this is not enough for me. This is just some sort of a dead cat, tiny bounce. Actually, this descending now is irrelevant. It's played its part. So, if we have banks going down and the dollar's not really bids, then it has no business holding this zone. So I'm tempted to say we could have a close below 100.8, and that would obviously mark time for a move, to 98 or something. So let's see what happens. But dollar pretty weak, and if that goes down, oh, that's the last thing gold needed. That will send gold up too. So gold has a lot going for it. Let's look at commodities. So we'll start with copper, which a bit like the dollar actually. It's just been holding this support for now. Not the strongest chart. It's got quite a bit of resistance up here too. But it's copper. I never know because copper, it's like it can follow the markets or it can follow commodities and the metals. And here it's stuck between both worlds, but I just feel like it will follow the markets more. Even though the fundamentals are, some would say, just as bullish as gold and silver, I mean, the world needs copper to the green projects and all this. And, if inflation is really coming in, then copper should be priced higher, et cetera, et cetera. But technically speaking, not the strongest, but not the weakest chart. So let's just see what happens. If it loses this support, we have another one here, and then we have the ascending. But yeah, let's see. Well, look, I mean, copper was kind of unchanged today and the markets were down. So at least it outperformed the markets. Natural gas, look at this. I really thought we would finally start to move higher, but no. And what doesn't go up must go down. This looks weak. It might flip this chart upside down. It looks like something is ready for a breakout. It's like an upside down cup and handle. I've never heard anyone describe a pattern like that, but you know what I mean? Here's the cup upside down. Here's the handle to the cup upside down. So sometimes I think like upside down if I'm not sure, but would you be bullish if this was upside down? Yeah, you would. So should you be bearish? Well, yeah, but look what's happened. You don't want to be too bearish. And obviously I'm buying these drops. So I'm looking forward to another flush, but I would also understand why it doesn't happen because it's been completely flushed multiple times. So I'll tell you what, though, if this sort of goes down and has a fake out and it has like a nice strong hammer and starts to rally again, it would look really, really strong. So anyway, let's just see what happens. I'm good either way. If it goes up from here, I'm quickly in the black, very quickly, like at 2.6, and then it's just all money. If it goes lower, then I have 3 more buys, as I've already mentioned in prior videos. So I'm happy with natural gas. Oil, oil, it touched its prior low, very strong support zone over here. Look at this, basically a hammer, closed green. Like for the bulls, they're probably happy this day happened because cleansed all the shorts out here and had a lot of buying. So now it looks a lot more bullish. It doesn't look very bullish right now because we've just retraced the whole move, which I never thought would have happened. I thought coming back down to 75 would have happened max because of this big move from OPEC. But now we've come all the way back down. Not too sure why. There's probably some local supply and demand with oil, but are we trying to go down with the markets? I don't know, but we've got this long-term ascending support. I don't know. It's just the fact that we've come all the way back down. That's not great. That's not terribly bullish. For sure, we should bounce and go to the 70s, maybe even mid 70s. But got quite a wide range now. I'm not sure what will propel this to new highs, like above 82.5. Yeah, I'm just gonna delete 2 of these because now those are the zones. Let's see. I didn't add to any oil miners, so I didn't really take part, but I think I should because we are at a good buy zone, even now, even after rallying this much. I'll see what happens. I'd like to see how oil reacts to the market going lower, more lower, lower for several more days. But overall, I'm bullish oil as a commodity. Uranium, this is the one that I really want to crack the lows. It's not doing it yet. It's just a tease. It's really just lower highs, but higher lows. So it's difficult to call. Just have to wait and see what happens. But I'm very, very greedy. I just really want this lower. I'm hoping, I'm not predicting, but I'm hoping for a flush of 18. So I can buy some good uranium miners. Okay, gold and silver. It's all about gold and silver. First of all, yes, we did breach and make new highs at some point, $2080. That's amazing. But no one cares about intraday moves. I mean, yeah, if you're day trading, it's cool, but the close was quite a lot lower. The close was at resistance 2050. It makes sense, to have a lot of resistance up here, but I think the damage is done. That's still for me bullish price action. Silver, by the way, not that I'm moving on to silver straight away, but look at that, 2% move, and we closed at resistance, just like gold, but at the high of day. So silver's a lot more bullish, and I think silver's going to start running to 27 tomorrow. I think it could get to 27 tomorrow. I do. And I think that alone could help gold go back up to test 2080. Obviously we could just retrace a bit of the move, but this is very strong in silver. I think just silver alone is enough to be confident that gold is not yet done, because if silver runs, you can't have gold just staying still. It's just not allowed. It's not part of the rules. So for me, gold had a crazy move, but it's warranted. There are fundamental and technical reasons, more fundamental reasons at this point. But I don't think we're done. We could have a small breather, but back up we go. But for me, it's really all about silver. This is the perfect close. And I think we'll run. And therefore gold will test its highs. Like I just said, GDX looks more like silver, actually. Well, it looks like both, doesn't it? Didn't close at a high of day, but tested it and touched this old high. But you can see how resistance worked again. I mean, obviously this is very obvious resistance. Plus it was the last high, but sometimes it's just beautiful to see these very simple horizontal lines, just levels working correctly. So if we start to close above 36, with silver maybe testing. No, actually, it'll be much higher than that. But if we start to close above 36, we could actually run more. I don't know how much this ascending line that I discovered recently, I don't know why I missed it. I'm not sure how much it will play a role, because look, if we just close tomorrow above 36, you're going to go higher than 37, aren't you? So it may actually be irrelevant. Or if we go up and we start to test this descending, this major descending, we could find a little resistance. It comes back down and then it bounces off this ascending. You know what I mean? It could be like, okay, a nice day. We go up and then we come back down and test this ascending. And then we're in a very tight wedge. Whatever, we'll see. But I'm not deleting that ascending line yet because I think even though it won't act as resistance, it could be relevant later. But yeah, very bullish stuff. Very bullish stuff. You know, look at that beautiful test, close pretty high. We just need that close above 36 on GDX. GDXJ underperforming. It wasn't even up as much, which is also a little rare, I would say. GDXJ should be outperforming GDX on a day like today. But look, I think GDXJ still can test and should test 44. Should actually close above 44. And then that can start to run and follow the same trajectory as GDX that I just mentioned. It's got the same ascending trend line too. So it's very bullish. Everything looks good for gold and silver. I'm not sure what to expect tomorrow because the banks have cratered quite a lot. Do we have a bit of a sideways day, a small dead cat bounce? You know, and what does that do to gold and silver and the dollar? Finally, Bitcoin, you know, did not act as gold. I mean, during this big pump here where gold had its crazy move up, Bitcoin was reacting very well to the banking crisis, but and gold too. So gold and Bitcoin were basically the same thing. But whereas gold has continued to act very well, Bitcoin has not been as consistent. So I think Bitcoin people are a bit disappointed with today's price action. You know, the question, Bitcoin is a bit like copper. Like, which way do you go? Do you follow the markets? You know, like the Nasdaq, or are you anti-banking, which copper isn't? But yeah, still not sure. So I'm very happy being in gold and silver. I mean, my Bitcoin holdings is, well, it's zero. I've just I own some Hive mining just in case, which hasn't been the best miner actually. I think Mara and Riot have been better, but still. Okay, that'll do for today. Let's see what happens tomorrow. I look forward to some weekend videos where I can really take my time because here in Europe it's pretty late. So doing these late videos after market hours is not ideal. I try to do them every day, but look forward to the weekend videos where I really go over everything. Because I also, by the way, I bought some cheap, some of the ones I covered in my miners portfolio video. I chased like 2 or 3 miners, 2 juniors and 1 medium tier miner today. Ones that hadn't risen that much and I think were of good value. I say chase, I wasn't really chasing, but I bought them anyway, despite the GDX being all the way where it is. Anyway, that'll do for today. I hope it was useful.